All right, y'all, we have another amazing Deal Finders podcast coming up. We've got the incredible Al Nicoletti. This guy is the probate and crazy title genius. He's fixed so many deals, works out of Florida, but is experienced in a lot of different states because he gets a lot of different questions from people because he's out there helping real estate investors with probate. So if you've ever come across a probate deal and you didn't know what to do, stay tuned. We will show you what to do, show you how to get started, and show you where to go next. All right? See you there. All right. We are in the Deal Finders podcast here with a very special guest. Al Nicoletti has been a friend of ours for a couple of years, met Michelle the most interesting way, and ever since then, we've just been pals and been trying to get him up here to Columbia and on our podcast for a little while. So he's a busy man, so we're going to spend a couple minutes here together, and y'all want to pay attention, take some notes, listen to what he's got to say, because he's busy, because he's smart, and everybody wants to talk to him. So, Al, thank you for coming. Please just introduce yourself, kind of, who you are, where you are, what are you doing?
First, I just want to say, Andrew, thank you for having me on Deal Finders Club. I think it's great that I got to meet Michelle when I did, and then I got to meet you, and then I see you guys at family, and it's just great to know you both and what you're doing for the community. So thank you for having me on. For those that don't know, I'm Al Nicoletti. I am a probate real estate attorney here in Florida, and I help so many of the investors, realtors, title companies when deals come across their desks and they're working on them that have probate issues, mostly probate issues, maybe some crazy weird title things that got to get cleared up, maybe some other niche-y title situations that arise. And my world is solving that puzzle and helping them get that solved so that then they can move and close with the title company and get the title insurance and move on. So that's really my world, and I'm sure we'll talk about where you can find all my content, but it's definitely been an interesting journey as far as how much I've learned, even in the last 6 months, in the last 3 years, in the last 6 years. Yeah. So much has changed, and it's great.
That's awesome, and you handle all that stuff for real estate investors a lot, right? Because we hear it all the time. We kind of talk about it here, is those problems. We, as real estate investors, when we are able to get a good, profitable deal, it's because we're solving a bigger and bigger problem.
Right.
When you buy something off the MLS, somebody that's just wants to move across town for a bigger house, really has no timeline. They can move whenever. They've got the down payment, the cash, whatever, no issues. There's no profit in that deal because you're not solving any problem. You're just helping them do something they kind of want to do. But when there's a probate issue or a title issue and this person needs to sell the house, the property, because it's a drain, and they can't because of legalities, now that's a big problem, right?
Yeah.
And you help solve that. So you see that all kinds of different ways, I'm sure. And I will drop your, because I'm looking at the mug back there. Y'all, if you're listening to this on podcast, you can also watch us. He's got a really cool mug back there, the Al Nicoletti Show. I love the way that looks, is for his podcast. But we're on YouTube, the Deal Finders Club on YouTube, so you can watch us there too. But I wanted to drop that in there while I was thinking about it. So, Al, yeah, absolutely.
That wasn't there, but the way I was sitting was not designed, I promise.
It's perfect.
It's perfect.
It is. And so doing this probate stuff, doing these weird title issues, we've bought a lot of properties the last 15 years. We've gone through a lot of different things, the title issues and stuff. People call me and ask, and they're like, oh my gosh, we can't sell this, we can't buy this because the title stuff, this and that. And I've seen a lot, and so I'm able to kind of answer questions, but that only comes from experience. And so you kind of have to be in it and get through these situations to get that experience. So that's what you are. That's who you are. That's why people are calling you all the time. So tell me, what is that, probably that one thing that you think of that you get called about the most?
That's the most. It has to be, what do we got to do to get this started?
Yeah.
I can go through I could go through top 10 questions in my head, but really it's what do we got to do to get this started? What do we need? What's it look like? What's the process look like? Which is a great question, and why I had to start developing more of a front end system so that things could be streamlined more. So started implementing more checklists. So I have like a probate checklist of things that if you find these deals, get the death certificate from the seller, the heirs. Get if they have a will, where's the will? If they have a trust and the will leaves it to a trust, where's the trust? If the property's titled in a trust, where's the trust? If you have heirs, what are their contact names? Get all their info. Have you pulled title at a title company so you can get the title commitment so you can know, do we need to do this? Do we not need to do this? Have you found your probate attorney that's going to help on this, right? And one thing I'll point out is that not every probate attorney is the same. Like lawyers and doctors and all that, right? They're not the same because in our real estate world, we have so many niche title issues that come up. Mm-hmm. And most probate attorneys think in their box and the possibilities in that box. The problem that you and I deal with on these deals is who gets in the way all the time? Title insurance. Mm-hmm. So most probate lawyers aren't thinking about the other end of this, which is, if I do what I do here, can we get approved for title so it closes? Because your mindset, Andrew, is how do we close the deal? And the probate attorneys sometimes don't think about that. They think, oh, we're just going to get a court order. So that's why, building your team and finding the right ones that have a great model, waiting until closing to get paid, doing these things efficiently. Probate's not their backup in their practice. It's their focus. It's their main, Yep. So this kind of goes hand in hand with a checklist of how to get started, what to look for, build the team around you, get your title company together that truly understands messy situations. That's the problem, is that not all title companies are the same when it comes to probate. Like, it's great if you got a new construction. It's great if you got two sellers, they're both on the deed, they're both alive, no problem. The difference starts happening is when you get these deals, you pull the title commitment, and you got mortgages, judgments, liens, nuisance liens, multiple probates, messy title. You want to go to someone that is going to say, been there, done that, like you talked about the experience, been there, done that. We do hundreds of these all the time.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is amazing advice to just, where do you get started? And it's different, right? It's like you said, it's different from just, you have two sellers that are right here, everyone agrees and everyone's alive, right? And even then you could run into issues. We have something, I don't know if it's common where you in Florida, but it's called Heir property here, where like you said, the somebody along the line, maybe some attorney, somebody that was handling the estate didn't really care about if they ever wanted to sell this property, make a clear title. They were basically, 6 generations ago, maybe people were just passing away, and somebody would then put the title in someone else's name. There was no transfer of ownership, no deed of distribution, which I know I'm saying words that a lot of new folks won't know, but basically there's a legal process for transferring ownership of real property, being land and houses. And it's a problem here because, especially in rural areas where they didn't really have access to the attorneys or something like that to do it, so they were just handing down. And so today there could be a family that is ready to sell, wants to sell to you. You've all agreed. You got the paperwork done. That title is a complete mess because it's been handed down from great-grandfather to grandmother to your mom, now to you. And so that's the kind of stuff you see, right? Have you seen stuff like that before?
Oh, yeah. Multiple probates, multiple issues. Somebody thinks that they're the heir of the property because mom owned it. Come to find out, mom never even owned it, and great-grandma still owns the property, and great-grandma never had a probate. So now we got to do great grandma to grandma and grandma to mom and then mom to whoever this heir is. If it goes that way. So, heir property is something that gets really crazy. They don't really call that heir property in Florida, but basically what we would call that is just multiple probates, multiple situations to get resolved. And like you just said, this process of the transfer of title ownership is that probate process if somebody was on the title, died, and they own that property. So a lot of people get confused by that. And I tell people, Andrew, I'm like, one of the first things you really need to know about probate is like what it is, because who's going to end up asking you is the seller heir. And when you can explain it in like a 10-second way, you beat the competition way more than you would just going, I have no idea.
I'm glad you said that, because that was my next question was, since we're talking about probate and how properties are transferred, how do you explain that to someone that's brand new that can just articulate it in an easy to understand fashion?
An easy way is because the state says so, because the law says so.
Yeah.
Because title insurance requires it. Otherwise, the deal is not getting done. The bottom line is it comes down to the conclusion, which is if we don't do this, then we can't move on with your deal. Because like South Carolina, I think Florida is a judicial state, and they require probate. Number two, title insurance. They want to make sure that everybody gets deeded out that has an interest in this that may be an heir. So they don't want to close until probate's done. So state says so, title says so. And like I mentioned, the concept of it is that somebody owned that property, died, and now to get it out of their name, we got to do this process. And they'll say, what is probate really? It's like filing this paperwork in court that transfers that title over. So we have to do this. Now, granted, you may have listeners that are in Texas or another state that, maybe North Carolina, it's been more than 2 years. And maybe they're like, well, we don't have to do probate. We're told we just got to sign an affidavit of heirs and we're good. Every state's different, and that's why you have to connect with somebody in that local market that is a true professional at their craft in that state that understands probate law.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, and we get it all the time because our probate law, and I think like Florida, it continues. It doesn't go away. Like there's no easy way around it.
Yeah.
Other than just you not do it and you can never close on the property, right? You never get title insurance. You never really know who owns it either. So probate is that process of getting that property to the right people. Okay, so like you said, it's paperwork. And the court system wants to make sure, because we have laws on how things are transferred, they want to make sure that you do it the right way. And so that's what it's there for. And when you have sellers calling, we're just talking about a 14-unit package of a mother who passed. There's 2 brothers, and they now have it. And the first question our team asks is probate open?
Mm-hmm.
Have you been deeded the properties? Is that over with, or are you still in probate, or have you not done it? If they say, well, what's probate? Well, then we go into exactly what you just said is,
Right.
The court makes us do this. You've got to do it. We'll help you. Like you mentioned having someone in your local market. This is exactly what Deal Finders Live is about. Our local events. If you're in South Carolina, you can make it to Columbia. We're not that far from you, no matter where you are. Our local events are for connecting. So connecting with the professionals, probate attorneys and real estate attorneys, and connecting and asking those questions, learning so you can grow your business. So wherever you are today, find a group like that, connect, find a probate attorney that knows these laws, that has done it, has some experience with it, because as Al has said, there's so many different issues and things. So Al, do you have any fun stories? Do you have any or scary stories that we can give our listeners as warnings or encouragement? Either one.
Yeah, I had one. It actually kind of overlaps with another concept. I don't know if they have it in South Carolina, but I know in Florida they have this, where a lot of these deals with probate, they're distressed properties. What does that mean? They're up for tax certificates. They're up for tax deed auction. They're up for foreclosure auction. There's imminency that it's going to be on the auction block and lost and sold. So we had this one crazy deal, and it was crazy. I was at the I got referred it from a title company. I was at the Hero conference, Tim I's Hero conference. Yeah. And I talked on stage about solving this, and they said, "Hey, we got this crazy deal." Talk to them, find out that two people own this lot of land in Florida. Both died. I did the analysis. One went to a spouse, the other went to 3 kids. Not really all that difficult, right? So the only holdup was that the property was heading for auction in 5 days. So I had to find a way to get that auction off the calendar and removed. Fortunately, if we have a checklist, obviously, for this too, but if we have all the dots aligned, we are able to file a motion in court and get it canceled. So I told the judge, I said, we got to do the probates. You got to buy us some time. We filed it. The judge approved. Worked on the probates. The heirs ghosted. Didn't hear anything at all. I said, okay, we got 90 days. Let's go. Didn't hear anything until like day 70. They finally signed everything, finally notarized everything. I had to jump in and cancel it again. So I had to file the motion, let them know, we're here, we're going. Filed it, canceled it, and the judge said granted. So we got another 90 days. I said, great. Got the probate done right after that. I told the title company, I told the investor, I told the sellers, I said, everybody, we got another 90 days. I highly doubt we're going to get another extension after this. Didn't hear anything for a while from the title company, yes, but the investor and the heirs, no. So me, I'm already invested. I'm already deep in this deal on a probate. I'm not even an investor, right? I'm deep in the work. So come the 90 days again, we're talking, and I'm talking to Andrew, June 2nd.
Oh my God.
I've been emailing, following up, and from April to January 2nd of this year, I said, hey, everybody, auction is January 5th. All of a sudden, like gophers, everybody appears, and it's like, oh my gosh, we got to do something. We got to do something, like save us. So filed another motion. When I went to the judge, he was like, no more unless the bank says yes. Yeah. And so he granted it, and I jumped in and fixed it. So the point is that, a lot of these get crazy and they require a lot of like strength to get through them and creativity on arguments and stuff. We salvaged that deal. I made good money off of it, but the investors did too. They wholesaled it out. I don't know what they made, but what went from being just a crazy mess, they closed it and it being a success. So I tell people out there that are like, going through this stuff, hey, there's possibilities out there, but you got to work on your deals. Like you got to be involved. You can't just say, hey, I'm under contract, we're out. It doesn't work like that. So I've had so many crazy deals with people. I could go through ones that one property, we had to do 6 probates on one property.
Oh my word.
Yeah. I mean, people that were dead for 60, 70 years. We had to go back. We had to get death certificates for everybody. Oh yeah. So we've seen ones where they get very messy. It was going up for tax deed auction. Fortunately, the real way to know these things, if they're possible, is you got to get the probate lawyer involved to do the analysis. Once the analysis makes sense and you have those people, like you don't find out you're missing anybody, or maybe there's no other option, then you're looking at possibilities of getting the deal done. So fortunately for this one, there was 2 heirs ultimately that were the owners, 6 probates. I mean, and they got it for a great deal. They snagged it. I think they were all in $35,000, and I think they listed the property for $200,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of spreads you get when you solve the big problems. because that seller had probably talked to 3 or 4, maybe 10 other people, and they said, "I can't help you. If you don't have the right team behind you, we're I know it's different in every state, but it's very similar between our 2 states. But we have one right now. It's 15 heirs, and like 3 or 4 probates have to be done because it passed down, not a probate done. And the lady, the original owner, or whatever, had like 7 kids, right? And some of those kids aren't alive anymore, So now we're dealing with those probates, and then those kids, because they have now a piece. Well, I think it goes down. Somehow it makes it down to some minors, and the minors can't sign for anything. So then we have to get appointed custodians. Is that the word? Guardians and custodians, somebody to sign for the kids.
Yeah.
And, talking about a mess, but it's one of those, like you said, stay in it and stay on it. We have to touch base with them. And when you have that many heirs, it's a problem to get somebody to sign paperwork. So if you get into this, and that'll be my tip for today, you guys out there that are looking for deals, going and finding deals, and you wind up with a probate deal, you have to stay involved with that seller, because if you think about the mindset of what's happened in their life with this property, they didn't do probate or whatever, or they're in probate, the property's now distressed. There's been a little bit of procrastination or kicking the can down the road. So you want to break that cycle, and the only way for you to break that cycle is to drive that ship. So we tell our people, the people that we coach and teach, is call them every week, even if nothing new has happened. Keep calling so that they know when it's time, you're going to be there to tell them to sign something, to come to the attorney's office or whatever. And that's how you get those deals with spreads, 200 to 35, solving the big problems and working for it.
Yeah.
You actually have to work sometimes.
A lot of people think that they just go under contract and they're good. They go to the title. All right, next. It's like, no, you got to get your VAs, you got to get your acquisition team, and everybody's got to be hands on deck. And it is what it is. Unfortunately, we see so many times right now where everybody's saying, all right, how'd the consult go? I said, great, they got to get us everything. 3 weeks later, people are following up with us, and we're like, we still don't have it. And it's like, it's not us, it's the heirs. It's them that got to get us the documents. We already sent everything. We can't just like go in there and take it from them. They got to go do it. So having people, a team, and delegating it the right way on who's going to help facilitate is very key.
Yeah, 100%. And it gets kind of scary and challenging, and that's why we talk about, and you even said it, is connect with people in your community. Find some people there that have done this before, can help push you through it and give you some tips along the way. And it's crazy how often, when you get into this business, how often this comes up and how much you learn from it. I was just thinking, the building we're in, a week or 2 weeks before we were to close, it was owned by 4 people in the LLC, and only 2 were left. Well, one of those 2 passed away. And so everything had to go back and deal with all that kind of stuff. So it happens, even when you don't expect it, So knowing and understanding what probate is and just the basics of this, y'all, if you take the basics, you're ahead of 95% of the people out there. And Al has great content that can help you learn more about it. So I'm going to ask Al to kind of leave a plug for where people can find stuff about you. I know, like I said, you have a great podcast and a lot of fun people on it. So tell people where they can find more info about you and learn more about probate.
Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that. Many people, social media is big for me right now. You can find me on Facebook under my name. You see it on the bottom left, Al Nicoletti. Facebook, Instagram @Attorney Nicoletti. My YouTube channel under Al Nicoletti. I have my show, the Al Nicoletti Show, is on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. And I think that's pretty much where we're at right now. I mean, I have my website, www.alnicoletti.com. So people can find me. Social media is big. If you go in the Google search bar, all you got to type is my name. You'll find all the content in any podcast. Probably the It's good. You're going to end up finding Andrew Lucas's podcast under my name when you type my name in. So it's powerful. But yeah, that's where you could find me. And like Andrew said, with the content, there's so much we could not get into on just this kind of episode. Like, yeah, I have content for 6, 7, 8 hours, maybe more.
Yeah.
So, definitely check that out.
Yeah, and we're so grateful you're going to come speak at our live event. I'm not going to date this because that could change. But you will come and speak at our live event, and so we will post that, of course. And y'all, if you are a first-time listener or haven't joined our Facebook group, make sure you join Deal Finders Club Facebook group, where you'll see this content. You'll see lots of information on ways to go find deals, be the local house buyer in your community. If you're ready to take that next step and you need some accountability, you're looking for some instruction, we have an incredible group that can help you with that. So dealfindersclub.com, you can go there, check those resources out, and if it's something you want to try to get started today, go apply. And if we like what you have to say, you might get in to be part of the club that is out there right now finding deals today. So that's what we have, Al. I love this. We could sit here and tell stories for days.
Yeah,
but we're going to have to stop it. We're going to have to stop at some point. If you want to hear more, check his social media out because he's always putting good stuff out there. All right, until the next time, we'll see y'all later.
Thanks for listening to the REI Deal Finders podcast. You can find out more and apply to be a part of the REI Deal Finder community at reidealfinders.club.